All right, Trump move to end birthright citizenship is an attempt to undo the civil war. This story is constantly growing because this is leading to a lot of uprooting in America. There's just tens of thousands of videos across social media of these people being deported, complaining about family members being deported, although some of this is probably not true. Some of these videos posted are old and not recent. But a lot of stuff, he's shaking shit up. Trump came in, shook it up immediately, did a lot of the stuff he said he was going to do on the campaign trail. It is what it is. So they went through the historical context of this quote here. That this led to a lot of talk that Trump made during his questioning.
5 votes on a Supreme Court.
What position?
Birthright citizenship.
I think so, yeah. Look, birthright citizenship was, if you look back when this was passed and made, that was meant for the children of slaves. This was not meant for the whole world to come in and pile into the United States. That was meant for the children of slaves. This was not meant for the whole world to come in and pile into the United States of America, everybody coming in and totally unqualified people with perhaps unqualified children. This wasn't meant for that. This was meant, when it was originally done, for the children of slaves.
You know, it's funny how often in the last couple of years we've heard that same sentence for a bunch of different things. You talk about civil rights, talk about 14th Amendment, all these things. The first thing they say is this was originally for Black Americans, pretty much. So this led to a lot of people coming out trying to disagree with it, saying that I saw the Native Americans said that Trump is trying to force them to not be citizens through kicking them, pretty much not saying that the 14th Amendment had nothing to do with Native Americans as well, because obviously Native Americans have their own, they're sovereign nations, they're tribes. So I'm gonna get to that later because a woman made some comments on that. I'm gonna make some comments on that too. But obviously he said nothing wrong here, but they're gonna try to make him the bad guy and try to say he's trying to cause division and stuff. Virginia said that was meant for the children of slaves. Which slaves? Melanin slaves, slaves from Europe. Now that's a good point, Regina. We do got to start asking for them to be very specific when they say certain things, because you got the Irish still running around saying that they were slaves during their time. You got the Asians saying that they was in servitude. So yeah, he needs to be more specific when he say that. He said, Emmanuel said, Trump is 100% correct. The 14th Amendment was only meant for that formerly enslaved Negroes and their direct descendants, i.e. non-immigrant Black Americans, aka FBA. Only $5 Indians. Trump is 100% right. Now this right here, I'm showing this because with Trump making DEI the new critical race theory, which was the new affirmative action, people were making the argument that because he's going for a lot of DEI things, even though he did roll back the Tuskegee Airmen thing when the Air Force, or the military, I'm sorry, when they took down all the Tuskegee Airmen stuff, Trump said, no, they are American history, and they put that stuff back up because that's American history. So he's clearly not going for, to me at least, he hasn't went for Black people. So because of social media and news propaganda, they've tied DEI directly now to Black people. So now when someone says, get rid of these DEI hires, everybody will say Black people. Well, no, that was for diversity of everybody. So in particular, the main people who benefited from it, just like affirmative action and all the other stuff, is white women and LGBTQ people. But they keep tying it to Black people so they can attack Trump and call him a racist, obviously. 14th Amendment had nothing to do with Native Americans. A separate law was passed in 1924 that made tribal nations citizens. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about it. Then it says, I was shocked to learn that DEI goes back to the 60s and even earlier. Yeah. Trump is blaming everything on DEI, and white ain't never been MEI, merit, excellence, intelligence, nepotism, and cronyism. Anyone? Exactly. He said, which is hilarious. Less than 4% of DEI jobs went to Black Americans. Exactly. So, but he posted this, when the White House posted this on their official website, of Trump declaring he recognizes Black History Month, which is crazy because he's attacking the DEI thing so much and they're attaching that to Black people. They also think that the reason why he may be wanting to release the MLK files is so that they can kind of muddy him up a lot more in the public, so they can make an excuse to get rid of Martin Luther King Day and yada yada yada. And then they think they're gonna get rid of Juneteenth. I wouldn't mind that because nothing good has come from that. Honestly, some things should be kept to the culture. But Trump had to come out and acknowledge and recognize Black History Month, which is just funny to me. But anyway, Brayden says them DEI narratives are just word salad for sympathy hire. Yeah, that too, which goes back to what Virginia said. That's nepotism. A lot of the time, that's a bigger sympathy hire. People getting jobs just because they know somebody, rather than you get a job because we need to fill a quota. Which one happens more often? We see that in college institutions, at the Ivy League schools. It ain't the people getting in because of their race or their gender or whatever. It's normally because of their family members. But anyway, let me show some of the reactions to Trump's 14th Amendment comments. This is Roland Martin.
And his minions, this is all tied together. A couple days ago, in their attack on migrants, they've been touting the 14th Amendment. And Trump goes out and he says that, that 14th Amendment, that was meant. That was meant only for formerly enslaved people of African descent. And that was music to the ears of the foundational Black Americans, the FBA.
Another thing I want to say is I feel bad because no one even uses the term ADOS anymore. Remember that? ADOS came, then the FBA came, and then people were kind of like, hey, I don't care what side y'all on. I'm not into that little feud. They was named themselves ADOS/FBA. But the attack now politically, not even politically, I'll say amongst the Black political pundits or commentators, their attack typically is only towards the FBA name now. I guess you could say it's because Tariq has been a lot more vocal against Black or immigrants, should I say. He's been a lot more vocal about his feelings towards them, I guess. So it's just funny to me. Manuel says all the other groups except FBA do nepotism at least systemically. Facts. All right, let me. Regina says Roly-Poly Martin and his kind are still present. Must get untold facts checks to keep pushing these narratives. Manuel says Yvette Carnell's still around, but FBAs have gotten more prominence than ADOS. Yeah, quickly. How fast it happened. I mean, I feel like ADOS was growing amongst the, I don't want to use the word mainstream, but legacy media were addressing ADOS. They were taking more serious from the standpoint of politics. FBA went the route of focus on building, I don't want to say groundwork, but they just kind of focused on, we're going to stick to the lineage. We're going to stick to the lineage. So people who don't agree with it who are in politics feel the need to denounce it and talk against it, which has led to it growing and growing and growing. And I guess you could say, obviously, Tariq obviously is more famous or more prominent than Yvette or Tone. So what he says is going to be more popular or bigger anyway. Brady says, thought it straight said fry. Oh, fat checks. Okay, I'm sorry. And Mary says, FBAs are more closer to the common Black people, i.e. working class and streets. Yeah, I think Yvette tried to go for the more intellectual, more, I don't want to say certain things, but she's definitely more of a certain ilk that have coalesced around her. More data searching and stuff like that, while Tariq just talking shit, it is what it is. It
was only for us. No law is only for one group of people. So he's using, some of y'all need to understand. Y'all got to recognize what Bill Duke said in that movie, High Flying Bird. They invented a game on top of the game.
Y'all see that little head wag on? What's up with the little head wag right there?
A game on top of the game.
Hold on, y'all. Hold on. I'm slow. Hold on.
Trump and his minions, this is all tied together. A couple days ago, in their attack on migrants, they've been touting the 14th Amendment. We only want to see laws for us. We only want to see bills for us. And that is at the roots of what's going on with this discussion about the 14th Amendment. Joining us right now, my guest is Carla McAnders, Director of the Legal Defense Fund's Thurgood Marshall Institute. Carla, I'm adding you to this because all of this ties together, Carla. It is meant to drive wedges between Black, Latino, Asian, Native American.
And this is another thing. Why is it you see these people right here that are so pro-Black and want to uplift Black feel the need to constantly be afraid of Spanish, Asian, or any other group, Native American, deciding to separate from them? You constantly feel the need to be associated with these people, and they tell you all the time, we don't care what happens to you. We worried about us. And when they need something and it benefits them, then they'll stand with you. But if it's just for you, they don't care. We've been seeing what the Mexicans and Spanish been saying the last week or so. So it's just it's sad to me that these people in 2025 are still trying to push this Black and brown or this rainbow coalition that should have died in the 70s.
Rights lawsuits, Harvard affirmative action programs, meant to drive the wedge. And there are Black people who are falling for the okie doke, who are playing right into it, who think that, oh no, these are things that are just for us, when it's been established by the Supreme Court that the 14th Amendment does not only apply to the descendants of formerly enslaved people of African descent. Folk need to realize the game that is being played. This is a master race strategy that is being employed as we speak, and it's unfolding every single day.
Another thing that's sad, because you're preaching inferiority. You're basically saying that's why I don't like the term non-white, because when you say white and non-white, you're saying it's white people and then there's everybody else. You're saying that Black people need to team up with the rest of the world against these people, that they're unable to stand on their own. This is why I be saying that these are the people that kind of preach incompetence to Black people, that they can't do it on their own. They shouldn't be expected to do it on their own. That's what they call left-wing racism, where they expect low of you. They don't expect greatness.
Definitely. Thank you for having me today. I think you're hitting on the core issue here, is that citizenship has always been narrowly construed to only include a certain group, and it's been very exclusionary. So if you go back to 1790 with the Naturalization Act, it was limited to free white males. Then you had, Dred Scott arguing that, a formerly enslaved person who's in the North, that he should be given citizenship rights. You had the Supreme Court responding in Dred Scott saying that, just as Taney said, that the Black man has no rights to which the white man is bound to respect. And so the 14th Amendment came along and it provided citizenship, membership, and belonging to all persons born or naturalized.
Hold on.
And again, I'm trying to keep people to understand.
Virginia said, facts do constantly feeling victimized by people who don't give a fuck about you, not even their on their radar. Emmanuel said, them other non-Black groups got their long overdue wake-up call with the mass deportations, and FBA's looking like, oh, well, not our problem. How you say it? Hold your own nuts. Ray says, coincidentally, they never say Africa. They say New Global South. The fuck? That's the new place they're trying to take over. So, you start changing names and using soft skills.
Master race language. When they are attacking illegal immigration, attacking migrants, what they're saying is, we need all of these dark people out. When he calls African nations shitholes countries, when he lies.
Bro, I ain't got to go through. We already know. Their population is shrinking because the women ain't having kids and the men ain't got no racial and national pride. They get rid of affirmative action, all this stuff, to convince the white woman to lose certain social mobility, economic mobility in this country, to force her to pair up with one of their white males so they can have some more kids. They don't want to bring in all these Hispanics and all these other people to do the job because the population is going to change in the next 20, 30 years. That's all it is. That's what happens with every fallen empire. You talk about Rome, you talk about the Greeks, you talk about the Ottomans. at the end of the empire, Egyptians, at the end of the empire, the people who are in control are normally not the people who were in power in the beginning. They don't want that to happen in America. They want white men to be in power, but they have to get the white woman back in order. That's all that's happening. Every country is importing a bunch of workers, except people like China. China don't do that. But China has a giant population, obviously. But yeah, and they've been around for way longer than America. These places fall. That's what happens. Sorry. Emmanuel says, but the white males prefer Asian women if they don't get one, if they can get one, because they call them submissive. That's another thing I want to point out. Y'all ever notice that when you look at these foreign countries and their cultures, particularly you talk about the Arab countries or the Muslim countries, should I say, even African countries that are Muslim or some type of spirituality or religion they follow, they'll speak against America when it comes to the colonialism and bringing the wars they cause and the pillaging of their resources, but they'll defend how they treat certain issues socially. So because America is attempted to be so pro-LGBT, pro-woman, you have women of other races or cultures that will accept all the other BS that happens in the West just because they're okay with that one issue. Like I can never forget when I saw the Muslim woman in the UK talking crazy about her country, Afghanistan, while sitting in Britain, the number one colonizers still. And she was talking crazy about her country just because of how they made them wear certain clothing and stuff and their religion. And the white woman is dressed in the Muslim garb, defending her culture while she's talking crazy about it. You know, drinking that wine of the world, I guess. Reagan says at the same time, feminize black men and make black women masculine. Yeah. I don't want to get into the whole you have to bring the femininity out of a woman. I don't think that should be a thing, but I understand. Ooh. All right. So Roland them and his ilk are pissed off that Trump said it because he said it's causing a divide and stopping what he wants to be a rainbow coalition. What a mystery man. Hold on. Yeah, Trump officials make plans to revoke legal status of migrants welcome under Biden. So won't that be the Ukrainians? It was Afghanistan, the Afghans, should I say? Won't that be the people he's mainly going to be targeting, since they came during the pullout from Afghanistan and the war in Ukraine? The Trump administration is preparing to revoke the legal status of many of the migrants who were allowed to come to the U.S. legally from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, Venezuela under former President Joe Biden. Oh no! So of course, the global South, as they call it, is the places they want to deport people back to. Manuel says so far it's Venezuelans and Colombians. Yeah, I was saying that I was being sarcastic. Of course, he's not talking about the Europeans getting deported again. He was talking about the others. NAACP. The NAACP. Oh, so there's been a lot of backlash with the DEI thing, and a whole bunch of stores decided to get rid of it. I think Walmart, Amazon, a few places got rid of the whole DEI initiative. We talked about this weeks ago. Before it even happened, we knew it was going to happen. They started really rolling this back late last year, around August, October. They had been started rolling this back before Trump even got voted in, but now since he's in, they're going completely all the way. The NAACP has been in conversation with Target over its diversity plans and initiatives. Our commitment remains clear. Black communities and all marginalized communities must be seen, valued, and respected. We will continue to hold corporations accountable. You know, it's funny because when you go to the Hispanic caucus, there's a Haitian caucus, there's a Jamaican caucus, Nigerian caucus. There's caucuses for all these subgroups, and I'm calling them subgroups in America because when you say Black in America, you're talking about Black Americans. I'm sorry. But they have a subgroup, they have caucuses for all these subgroups, but the NAACP feels the need to speak for everyone. but then again, it wasn't made by you, so it can't be for you. But so Target. I know y'all saw the the backlash that what's the woman name? I'm sorry. She was a content creator. Now she's in like movies and stuff. I think she's an author. She got spices and stuff. I can't remember her name. Tabitha Brown. That's her name. Tabitha Brown got a lot of backlash because she made comments saying, "Hey, if you boycott Target, there's a lot of black creators in there. If you don't boycott black people." Basically, what she was trying to say to me, in my opinion, she was saying, "Hey, if you want to boycott Target, do it, but just go there and buy from the black people." But she can't say that publicly. If you say, "Hey, don't buy from nobody else but black people in Target," that would look crazy because she got business with them. But it sounds like she was saying, "Hey, if you boycott Target, you're going to be boycotting black people." But she was saying in a roundabout way to me, this might not be what she intended to say at all. But she was also kind of implying, hey, you can go to Target and buy this to support black people and not buy the other stuff and let the other products fall in numbers and stuff, but just support the black stuff. But, she got a lot of backlash for it. And she was like, do what you want to do. If you don't want to support me, that's fine. If you don't want to support, buying from Target, that's fine. But she was giving a real reason because it's not going to work. I keep seeing people bring up the boys boycott with Martin Luther King and all them. Listen, you can only boycott something when you're the main person you're the main patrons of a company. Target's biggest demographic is not black people. Now, would it hurt if black people stopped going there? Yeah, it would be a little drop in revenue. Yeah, but y'all ain't the main source. So you boycotting them don't hurt. It's like y'all trying to boycott Gucci a few years ago. Balenciaga. They don't expect you to be the main ones purchasing from them. You're not that big enough of a demographic in this country. So it doesn't work, really. You're not helping anyone. You're just hurting black people who have stuff in Target. Emmanuel says DEI is die, ain't no coming back. Has died, ain't no coming back. People says she's not wrong. Virginia says, considering so-called black folks are at the bottom of DEI initiatives, she wasn't wrong, and she was also looking out for her bottom line. Exactly. And I respect it. Emmanuel says people are capping, the same ones claiming to boycott Target. They're the same. They never really stand by it. They not in modern day. They never want to stand by it. Hell, imagine if Amazon did something that pissed people off. Do you think a bunch of black people are going to stop using Amazon? No, it's too much convenience. Hell, even Target says it's too convenient. It's too much of an inconvenience for them to boycott anything nowadays. Which is why I was saying a little while ago that black people really ain't stood on something in decades, really. It's been decades, maybe. As close as you can come to is the George Floyd situation, and even that wasn't really black people. The main people out there protesting was white women. Virginia says so-called black folks will have to stop being a consumer of everything. Then shit will change. Otherwise, shop as you feel. Facts. But the NAACP, I want to show this clip here of what this dude had to say about the NAACP and why the NAACP and most of the people that's placed in front of us as leaders, he believes, at least, this is the white dude saying this, he believes it doesn't benefit black Americans for a particular reason.
I've got something.
Virginia says, facts, Duke, Amazon will contact me and ask a little about him. Y'all all right? Straight to the dough, right?
Called the Legislative Black Caucus in Washington, D.C. That will not meet this issue of immigration head on. So we keep diverting from the real problem in the name of satisfying those who are part of creating the problem. What should be our message to the Congressional Black Caucus?
Well, I think one of the problems and why the Congressional Black Caucus has ignored this harm to African American communities in the same way that all the other racial groups in Congress have ignored them is that I haven't looked recently, but something approaching half or maybe more than half of the Congressional Black Caucus represent districts that are heavily Hispanic and other immigrant. And so their feeling is that they're not there primarily to represent the interests of African Americans, but to represent the interests of this wider group. And so there's a lot of, and the typical African American member of Congress represents a higher percentage of immigrants than say the white representatives do. So there's
because they're pushing them into the black area. So the places that these black people are able to win office, the demographics not even there. It's not even the same demographics that it was 20, 30 years ago. So now you got black people, quote unquote, in office because of Hispanics and other immigrants voted for them, along with the black people, obviously. And as Emmanuel said, at least half the congressional black caucus are tethers. That tether word is sticking, ain't it? Damn. I'm gonna make some comments later where I don't use that, but now for certain people, it's definitely gonna have to be applicable.
You could say it's a little sense of divided loyalty, but I think the message that has to go to them is, are you going to hurt the immigrants who are already here for the sake of bringing in more immigrants? Or are you going to bring in fewer immigrants, help the immigrants who are already here, and stop hurting the African Americans who have roots in this country? What are we talking about now? 15 to 18 generations that most African Americans have roots in this country?
More than the average white person.
And a country that says it wants to square off some of the problems that happened from slavery and Jim Crow and all of those things, and yet we have a federal government. So I think the message has to be to the Congressional Black Caucus. It really is primarily, look, you're not helping the immigrants who are already here by bringing in more immigrants. And why don't you help all of us and pay attention to what mass immigration has always done to the African American community?
Sad. People can always look in and see your problem, and people in and just ignore it. All right, now I want to get to this. This Native American, and I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful. I don't know if this is a man or a woman. I'm being honest. I know that amongst the Native Americans, they do have what they call a third gender. I forgot what they call them. There's a term for that. I don't know, so I'm just leave it alone. But I'm gonna show this video, and y'all tell me what y'all think about this person. The facts you have to step away from in order to truly see it. So let me just show this person and their comments about Trump's 14th Amendment.
Breaking news.
Emmanuel says, at this point, U.S. slavery descendants, i.e. non-immigrant black Americans, need to resettle back into the South as a political strategy. Been seeing people call for that for the last 2 or 3 years. Man, I'm lying. Maybe the last 6 years, people been saying that. And the problem is, because I don't live in, I'll see you keep them. The problem is, I don't live in, because Atlanta, let's be honest. When you talk about black culture right now, because the center of black culture is music and entertainment, whether we think that's okay or not. And the center of that is Atlanta. So when you talk about moving down south, most people are going to North Carolina. Shout out. North Carolina, Georgia, Texas. Few going to Florida. But I'm starting to see sprinkles in Alabama, Tennessee and stuff. I didn't know what the demographics of Atlanta was until a few months ago when people started pointing out there's a bunch of East Africans, there's a bunch of Nigerians, there's a lot more ethnic groups that live in Atlanta now because they're moving down south with the black Americans. I talked to my aunt and uncles, and in North Carolina where I grew up, it was black. It was black, some sprinkle of white, and a few Mexicans. It's Asians now. It's not. It's Africans. It is. I've never in my life in North Carolina, where the city that I live in, the town I grew up in, I never seen Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, none of the Caribbeans. I never seen it. They now are there. So a lot of those people are now no longer going to New York, California. They're now going to places in the South. So I don't know if the whole move down south thing is going to benefit. Keeper says, dude looks like a lady. I don't know if it's a lady that looks like a dude or a dude that looks like a lady. I don't know. When you hear the voice, you have to switch that around, Keeper. Emmanuel says, nah, I'm good on Atlanta. $5 he, she, perhaps. Atlanta is terrified. Emmanuel says, see Tether claim they to haters, but followers all over the country. Yeah, that's what I was talking to Travis. He was saying that. He was like, look, they following you. I never knew that there was a whole immigrant community in Alabama. Alabama. Whenever somebody who don't live in Alabama talk about Alabama, it's always negative. Nobody ever says, I want to move to Alabama. Alabama. But I didn't even know they was there. So you're not getting away from it at this point. All right, let me play this video here. Let me play it.
The Trump administration questions Native Americans' birthright citizenship in court. The Trump administration argued in court to limit birthright citizenship for certain groups of people here in the United States. Part of the
Sorry to pause again. Kind of reminds me of a Tulsi Gabbard, by the way.
arguments involved questioning whether Native Americans, who are citizens of their own tribal nations, qualified for U.S. citizenship under the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment, which was ratified in 1868, states that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are United States citizens. This basically means that anyone born on U.S. soil automatically is a United States citizen. However, the Trump administration is focused on one phrase of the 14th Amendment, subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And they argue that not everyone born in the United States qualifies as subjects to the jurisdiction of the United States.
Well, yeah, you live on sovereign land on your reservations. So technically, you're not a citizen of the United States. I mean, these reservations have their own laws. They do what they want to do. I watched that show. What's that show? Yellowstone. And that's kind of what they talk about. On the reservation, there's no authority. They control all that. It's theirs. So you expect to get the benefits of being a reservation, a sovereign nation to your own tribe, but also be a United States citizen to benefit from that. Oh, quick note. I saw somebody point out who lives in New York. He's a podcaster. He said that he was in a Jewish area at a grocery store. And he said that these tiny hats, he didn't use the word tiny hats. He said these tiny hats be having tens of thousands of dollars in SNAP benefits, food stamps. And I've been seeing videos the past week of these people on social media who were scared that Trump was ending the benefits of food stamps, of snaps for people. He said these tiny hats got tens of thousands of dollars in food stamps and SNAP. This is what? So they eating. This is crazy. Anyway, sorry.
The Justice Department cited the Civil Rights Act of 1866, which was ratified 2 years prior to the 14th Amendment, and is one of the earliest laws that defines citizenship. What's interesting about this is that it excludes two groups of people from citizenship. The first is subject to a foreign power and Indians not taxed.
And there you go. Emmanuel says, a Native American shim. I done seen it all. Keeper said, it's a man. Look at the neck. It's always the neck, ain't it? Brady says, we can't unsee some shit, right? My bad, brilliant. You mentioned Transformers more than meets the eye. Dun, dun, dun. Regina says, some Native Americans believed in the two-spirit person. Yeah, that's what it wasn't a third gender. It was two-spirit. I'm sorry. That's what it was called. I'm also ascribed minimally to all the humans have masculine and feminine aspects at their core essence, not based upon sexuality neither. Keeper said, I think the person is overreacting. This person is overreacting. It makes the Transformers more than meets the yeah, Keeper, I don't think Trump is trying to make Native Americans discounted as being citizens because of the 14th Amendment. But I think because most of the time when you bring up any form of reparations towards any demographic, the first thing the right-wingers or even some of the left-wingers will say is, well, we got to give to the Native Americans first. That's their way of slipping out on Black Americans. They'll say, well, the Native Americans got to get it first. So I don't think the right-wingers feel like they have to discount them as citizens. They actually feel like they owe them some level of a debt. Some of them say, hey, you lost a war, get over it. You lost. Sorry, Emmanuel says, that's facts. The small hats get caked off the benefits. It's an open secret. I'm sorry. It's an open secret in NYC. We still ain't talked about them open tunnels that existed, or closed tunnels now, they say. Them tunnels just went away. Virginia says, facts regarding the SNAP bomb bennies, and this includes their own police force, different from what the rest of us interact with, allegedly. Yeah, I've heard plenty of stories of dudes from New York saying, they end up in the Heights, Crown Heights, I think it is. And you there too late, 11:30, 2 in the morning, you walk around, they'll walk right up to you and say, what are you doing here? And I don't care, I don't mind that. Police your neighborhood, police your area. But they'll tell you, what are you doing around here? Who do you know? What are you doing here? What are we doing? Leave, or are you going somewhere? Where you going? They still have haven't eradicated the 3/4 of a man portion of the Constitution. Yeah, technically it's still on the Constitution. People say yes. That's as far as the reparations go. Virginia says having your own policing is probably why the Turner story went quiet. Quick too, quick.
Historically, the United States government treated all Native Americans as belonging to separate nations and not to the United States. And that all changed in 1924 with the passage of the Indian Citizenship Act, which granted all Native Americans in the United States citizenship. The Trump administration is arguing that the 14th Amendment should still exclude Native Americans because we are still subjects to a foreign power, which is our tribal nations, and they are citing a Supreme Court case that was decided in 1884 that stated that Native Americans are not U.S. citizens unless they denounce their allegiance to their tribes.
Pause. Do y'all agree with that? Because technically, you could look at these tribal nations and their own land, their own laws. They could be treated somewhat like a Puerto Rico, like a colony. Like you're your own country, you have your own laws and government, but you're under our quote unquote rule, I guess you could say. So technically, you can't be a citizen of. I guess you're a dual citizen, but then it leads into the idea of, well, if you could be a dual citizen on the same land, is that possible? Can you be a dual citizen on the same land? Because you could be American and whatever tribe there is on the same land, the same property. What taxes do you go by? Do you pay property taxes on you to them or to here? I mean, how do you separate that? Virginia says, my mother and my grandmother, Oklahomians, are dark-skinned versions of his phenotype. People say, yes. Emmanuel said, yep. That case he mentioned is Wilkins versus Elk. But they got a law in 1924 that made them citizens. So what is the transformer talking about? Well, he's saying that should exclude it because there's a case that predates that says they're not citizens. So he's trying to argue that they're going to try to expunge the 1924 one or get rid of that and say they don't count because there's a one from 1884 that's saying they're not citizens because they are citizens or sovereign to their tribes. So, yeah.
This is very controversial because the United States government and tribal nations have a long-standing agreement stating that Native Americans can have dual citizenship.
Okay, there we go. He said it, or they said it. I'm sorry.
Government and with our tribes. And the arguments that the Trump administration is trying to make will undermine all of this and throw away hundreds of years of treaties and negotiations.
Well, they kind of been doing that. All the complaints out here from Native Americans is how they constantly break the treaty. So why are you still trusting them to live up to anything they've said, honestly?
That allow us to have our tribal sovereignty today. In addition to that, the 1884 Supreme Court case that decided that Native Americans are not U.S. citizens unless they renounce their tribal allegiance was basically deemed useless after the passage of the Indian Citizenship Act of 1924.
So that's going to, he's trying to make the argument that's going to be a battle between the 1924 and the 1884 situation, the law passed and the 1884 case that happened. So I agree. I don't think nothing's going to happen from this. He said Trump is not getting rid of the 1924 law that makes Native American citizens. He better put that peace pipe or meth pipe down. Or put the bottle down either. Breen said the U.S. has never honored any treaty like ever. He said I'm confused why they still are flabbergasted or shocked, aghast at the idea that they just not trustworthy, bro. Get what you can and move on. That's why they gave you the casinos. You're supposed to be milking this country dry with the casinos and getting your money and building your stuff up. That's why I was so confused by that TV show Yellowstone. Yes, I know it was written by a Caucasian man, so they're going to paint them a certain way, but he ran a casino, but and the people are living in abject poverty on the reservations, and he's not taking the money. He's talking millions of dollars to buy more land and build more casinos instead of taking the millions and putting it into the reservation. It was just confusing me. I don't get it. Virginia says these complicated arguments really hone in the importance of finding out who you are, the who. and what laws protect you, your tribe, lineage. A lot of mixing of chaos. Speaking of mixing, I'm glad you said that. Let me show something I bumped into. Let me show something. Speaking of mixing, let me show this. I ran into this right here. Let me know what y'all think about this. What up, Brian? Trump said in the 90s that the Indians we see today aren't real Indians. Yeah, I showed that video last year when Trump said they don't look like Indians to me. He was saying how the Indians that he saw in what he saw in his records, he was trying to, because these Native Americans, he was in a dispute with them, and he was saying that these ain't real Indians, basically. These ain't the real Indians. The dark ones are the real Indians. Emmanuel says some people want to be outraged just to get attention. And Brady says if you watch Ozarks, you'd understand casino and hotel money laundering. Yeah, cartels and all the other stuff. But yeah, look at this. When some of these descriptions can't be right, because I could have sworn I've read before that the term mulatto was for a Native American black mixed person, not white and black. I don't remember it being black and white being mulatto. But you see here, you got mulatto. I think there's grift or griff, I guess how you say it. That's a mulatto and Native American. This is the same racial categories, or some of these are similar to the racial categories they have in like Brazil, where they got like 11 categories for people. Remember, said DEI Indian. He was an attention-seeking Indian. Quadroon, 1/4 black and 3/4 white. Yellow, almost white. Octoroon, 1/4 8 and the rest is white. Sambo, mulatto and black. Mestiz, white and quadroon or octoroon. Creole, French or Spanish born in Louisiana. So Creole wasn't even considered, at least in this definition, wasn't even considered black at all. It was just a French or a Spanish born person in Louisiana. So that was just funny to me that you see these mixes they have now and none of those are used anymore. Now let's move on. Very interesting. Yeah, this is where we got to kick some old backs in now. Let me show this. Now, what I'm about to show is a video. If I'm not mistaken, I didn't get to find out everything about these people, but if I'm not mistaken, these are conservative people. These are conservative, quote unquote, black people. And they made some comments about the FBA or delineating amongst black Americans and the rest of the people. So I'm gonna show this video of their comments where they were very disrespectful in their language. And I'm gonna give an explanation as to why I've come to the conclusion why they do this. Let me show you.
So first, let's talk about what foundational Black Americans are. So the term refers to a concept coined by activist and filmmaker Tariq Nasheed. It's used to describe Black individuals in the United States who are descendants of African people enslaved in the U.S. prior to the abolition of slavery in 1865. Here we go. I want to start off with you, Shelley.
My never to be humble opinion is that this movement is a way to further segregate and divide Black people, give me a second, and have these FBAs use this one as a good separation technique or a good segregation technique. Now, let me say this. I don't give a damn who you associate with, who you want to be called, or what group. I don't really care. But I think this particular issue is a way for, I'm going to say, maybe more conservatives to use as, I
know where you from.
Separating myself because I am a
Wait, she got guns as earrings?
A slave or have ancestors that were slaves or whatever. I don't care. Ultimately, I am a foundational Black American. I was born here.
Now, I'm gonna play this next one too, and I'm gonna get to my main point. I'm gonna get to this. Brink says, as soon as I hear FBI, I mentally check out oversaturated term. It's getting to the point where, yeah. Emmanuel says, y'all, she's a loud, ignorant tether. Deport her behind. He says, this podcast. Kiva says, I tried to watch this podcast last year. They are so pro tiny hat, it's nauseating. What, a bunch of black people who are constantly talking about they pro Israel versus the Palestinians. Well, if I'm not mistaken, they're right wing, which don't really mean that, because not everybody who leans more conservative doesn't mean that they support that, but I guess they're trying to get to a certain bag. Mr. Man says it's not a movement, it's a lineage. Keeps it unwatchable. And man says, I see them tethers be on that ish. Oh yes, extremely. Oh wow. I'm not surprised. Most of the people that get into politics who are black and go more conservative, I can't say just that, because even the left wingers be signing the olds, or the olds. They be signing the constantly preaching their support for Israel too. So even the most left wing of black people do the same thing. They run that shit. Empress said, what's the name of this podcast? Popping Politics. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know. I didn't look it up. Because I'm never gonna watch it. I just want to show this clip because I'm about to make a point. And maybe it says FBA's got no dog in the Middle East conflict. Shouldn't have one, but yeah.
In the United States,
particular issue is a way for conservatives to use as, oh, I'm separating myself because I am a slave or have
okay, it is okay,
slaves or whatever. I don't care. Ultimately, I am a foundational Black American. I was born here.
Now, their desire to just stake claim to any. Now, keep in mind, FBA is literally created. She read the definition. It's for a particular group. She ignored the definition and said, "No, I am a part of that because I was born here." Even though it's not just about being born in America. She know that. Now I'm gonna play the next one.
And, a lot of people talk about being separate and all of this other stuff. Well, look, you could do that now. Find yourself an island in the South Pacific and just go be separate. But most people don't even know how to feed themselves without a supermarket. So that's something that would break down very quickly.
Now, what he said, I thought it was very good. That was a point that I really stuck with me. He said, if you want to separate, go to an island to separate. Now, I took that more than just what he said, which is physically going to another place and separating. I took that as him saying, the idea of being Black American, if you want to separate from that, you need to call yourself something else. Completely, don't even call yourself Black anymore. Completely separate yourself from that identity. If you want to separate from us, because we're not giving it up. We ain't giving it up. Emmanuel said now she's doing jazz and it's being loud. Yeah, they're full-blown Zionists. Oh, okay. Tethers are telling us to leave the U.S. Isn't that hilarious? I think there's more than just the physical leaving and also leaving your identity, but let's move on.
These foundational Black Americans, the authority, whoever they are, I've never heard of such. And no, you may not claim me in your group, just because I happen to be born an American, right? Born an American with beautifully melanated skin, but American nonetheless, right? We're not going to start dividing ourselves into these little pockets that make it easier for people to take advantage of other people.
And let me tell you something, I'm sick of FBAs, okay?
I'm sick of them too. I'm just sick of people begging all the damn time.
Yeah, you can actually walk down Baltimore and step in human feces, and it's generally from an FBA, okay? So,
all right, so now I'm about to make a point. I kept asking myself for a good minute, when it comes to this idea of delineating from these groups, why are they so, even the people who clearly show disdain, why do they want to be attached to the term Black American? Because it's not even about being attached to you anymore, technically. It's about being attached to that political, that title, Black American, African American, has political and social clout, right? So I think the purpose of them wanting to identify with that, if they're from another place, and people, especially people who kind of carry themselves this way, is because they believe the only way they can be American is to be Black American, because Black Americans obviously have a long history here. So their desire to be attached to Black American is not to be attached to Blackness. It's to be attached to Americanness, because their real goal is to be attached to whiteness, which they think is the ultimate American. I'm surprised these people ain't one of those people that say, I'm not Black American, I'm American, I'm an American citizen, yada, 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 yada. I've seen the same thing happen with Candace Owens. Whenever stuff like this gets talked about, she gets kind of fidgety and iffy on it because she starts talking a certain way that you can there's a desire to attach to that to be American. Even though I think she says she has lineage from North Carolina, but I don't know. Virginia says irony to me is they come to America, and even if born into America, at some point they choose to separate, preferring white until it's economically and politically expedient to them. Yeah, expedient to them. Emmanuel says, man, when I hear them goofy tethers, that makes me realize we need to revoke the 1965 Immigration Reform Act. And back to what I was about to say earlier, I don't use that tether, but these people, when they decide to attach themselves to you just to get attachment to Americanness or whiteness, that is you can't get around. That's a tether. That's what that is. Ember said lies, just a tether in disguise. Ain't both. It's because they are cowards and can't stand on their own. Keeper says they are definitely placating for a specific audience, not genuine. Yeah, I feel like that's obviously they're trying to get a bag. I've seen plenty of black YouTubers since Trump became a name in politics, at least. He's always was famous, but once Trump got into politics, there's a lot of money, man. There's a lot of money in that, not right wing, in that grifting right wing side of the social media. Because if you black, especially, and you're willing to say certain things, even if you don't believe it, you'll come up quick. Now, don't last long, but you'll go up quick. All right, let me go here. Oh, and go straight to this right here. The Amazing Lucas. I knew you. I was thinking the same thing. Amazing Lucas. He said it. Said Candace Owens and old buddy. They literally said, we don't believe none of this stuff. This is just how we make our money. And Brady says, we converse in English, so the language itself is a light code lockdown. Oh, and by the way, happy Black History Month. Mary says that they're going to get rude awakening, wake-up call because Trump rather have the authentic black Americans than black members, a.k.a. tethers. That's not true. Not in most cases. When you start getting to corporate and you start getting to certain, they would much rather hire and school them because there's not a debt there. If I bring a Nigerian or a Jamaican here to America as a foreign exchange student and I give them a free education and bring them up and able to take them to the top of the corporate America, I don't have the same debt to them. There's not the same energy isn't in the room. Like if you put a black American in a room with other people from other countries, with like a couple of executives or whatever, that one black American, when they have certain political conversations been in a room, is going to cause just a certain tension in the room that doesn't exist if he or she is not there. So I definitely think they would much rather have them than you, especially when you talk about economically in their workforce. And Mary says, yeah, but that's about the flip, especially with mass deportations. Hey, we'll see. All right, let me show this now. So if you're talking about delineating. Shout out to Black Patriarch on Twitter that I got this from. He says, every year, he said this person's name, I think it's a group, Umu Igbo Unite, celebrates the Igbo tribe of Nigeria in the U.S. Nothing wrong with it. But at a certain point, we can no longer afford to include them. It's time to have them leave our community. So they get together and celebrate Igbo culture in America.
UIU was started to provide community.
Provide a community.
To provide connections, a safe space for us to network together, to provide access, career development, professional development, to give back to the community, to create opportunity, especially for our brothers and sisters back home, in hopes that we can build a better Nigeria.
Yeah. It never really goes like that, do it. Every time I see a video of somebody from Nigeria or Nigerian descent talk about Nigeria, it's never in a positive light. They're the main ones that would tell you not to go. They're the main ones that tell you that it's not worth it. All talk crazy about it. Igbo culture, while 365 days of the year, they cosplay as FBA. Hey, man. All right, now let's get to this. Let me play this right quick.
Lately, I have seen a lot of videos of black people making fun of Mexicans for what's happening right now with Mexican people. I have also seen black people make videos talking about Mexicans.
Brink says, what is U.S. black culture? And is the question. It varies each state. Well, no, I could say each state has a different version of the same culture, which, to be honest with you, has been muddied a lot the last 30, 40 years because a lot of people have went away from it. When you talk about the culture, Black American culture is Christian, conservative. That's really the main, when you talk about those two terms, Christian and conservative, a lot of those things lead to Black American culture. How we act, how we carry ourselves, religious, all the other stuff, the customs that we follow typically come from those two things. Unfortunately, the last couple of years, two decades or so, a lot of more Black people don't go to church no more. A lot more Black people are not religious, a lot of atheists, other religions, Muslim, all this other stuff. But yeah, it's kind of gotten muddied a lot because you're introducing other cultures in, living in the neighborhood, influence you. Now we're influenced by pop culture so much because we influence it so much. So yeah, it gets kind of muddy on what is the standard versus what's just a trend.